I tend to get really dependent the second there's any kind of romantic happening in my life where like somebody's into me and I'm into that person, and suddenly, whoa, I lose perspective and I get wacky. I get kind of, I look at that person's and how they treat me, and that is suddenly defines my worth and all this. And I know it's bogus, and I can see it, that it's just the mind doing all this, but it's so strong. And I was wondering if you could talk about that. I don't know.
It's to do with the opposite. So it's to do with in certain areas of your life you'll feel a strong sense of lack of love. Now, not in all areas. So maybe in work you don't, maybe in certain areas you don't, but maybe when it comes to women, or in relationships, maybe even friendships, maybe it's human relationships, a big sense of lack of love comes up. And now initially there is always this separation, and when the separation starts there's always the sensation of feeling like you're not enough, you've lost love, and then feeling like your safety is threatened because you feel separate. So there's always these two at the base of everything, of the base of seeking. There's always these two strong dynamics. And then we get taught by our parents, and we get taught by society what it is in the flow that's taken away your freedom. What's actually taking you away your freedom is separation. But we get taught by our mother and father in society like there's something wrong with us, and we believe it. We're not even conscious of it. The functioning just starts to seek to do the opposite to that. So your dependency on them will most probably stem back from your relationship with your mom and dad. And this is where therapy comes in. But I'm not a therapist, but this is where people go to therapy. Now, it's not the fix. Getting to the end of this dynamic's not going to fix you and stop you feeling separate. You're always going to, while you're separate, you're always going to have a sense that you've lost love, and that there's something to be afraid of, but it will be more intense if you haven't done therapy and you haven't looked at these issues and they're unconscious. So more than likely there's something that happened to you when you were younger. Maybe you didn't get enough attention, who knows what it was. And so therefore when the woman comes along, she offers you what you think is wrong with what you think you need. So she offers you the opposite to what you feel you lack. So you might have not been given enough attention or something, or being told that you were wrong a lot. And so when she tells you you're right and she gives you attention, it will give you a massive pleasure rush.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be so addicted to it, just like Khaleesi is with chicken. She's like, she goes crazy for doing chicken. She'll do anything for me, nearly anything. A lot of things for me if I have chicken. But she's not separate, so she can't get identified with it. But it's just like this. It's the same principle. Your girlfriends that you pick will give you a massive high because inside you fear you lack that. And I can't tell you what it is. Like if you went and work with a therapist, they can unravel that for you. But therapy is never going to get you to the end of seeking. Therapy is like working inside the dream with the bones that are broken. The main source, the reason that she gives you a high, and this is what you've got to see through, it's not even you what's got to be seen through, is because you feel she can complete you and she can't. And that will drive you crazy. People will do anything for this completion. You know, this is why people murder. This is why people steal. This is why people are horrible to each other and do nasty things, because the belief that they can get completion somewhere. Humans will do anything. They're like beggars when they're separate. They'll do anything to try to feel like they're at home. Because it's awful. When you're separate, you always feel like you're not in the right place, and you're not even conscious of that. There's this underlying hum. So in the moments that she tells you you're valid and you're worthy, momentarily you touch that sense of feeling like you're at home. Because of the high pleasure rush, she completes you. So maybe you've been told repetitively that you're not funny enough, or you're not whatever it is. And so she laughs at your jokes, and then you get a massive high from that. And for a moment, you stop seeking, and there is a sense of being home. So she becomes everything. But this has got to be seen through. Like, this has really got to be seen through. You could work with a therapist to understand why that happens, but that's not going to get you to freedom. The freedom is seeing that she is not home. Home is presence. Home is your nature. Now, that's not easy because the mind is, I mean, like, it's like the total illusion. The mind dangles the pleasure in you, and it's like, and it's like it's in standing still in the middle of everything. Pleasure comes and goes. Pleasure isn't it. What you get out of getting pleasure is momentarily you stop seeking because you got the pleasure you want, and then you get that sense of being home, and that's what you really are looking for. But it's such a trick. It's such a trick, and you'll never end it in pleasure. You'll just build up your seeking. It's like each time you do it, you build up that momentum again and again and again. Like, what's that experiment that they did with Pavlov's
dog?
Yeah, like, so it's like, if I keep giving Khaleesi a treat when she does a certain behavior, she'll just keep repeating it. So it's the same. The more love affairs that you have, the more of that you do that, the more you'll believe it's in that unconsciously. It's like the body's responding to it. It's not saying don't have love affairs. They can be great for seeing through, but the aim of anything when you're waking up is to see that that's not it. And it will, and dependent on how, like, this is going to sound really awful, but dependent on if you've had a difficult childhood and not the great conditioning from your parents, then more than likely you'll be a bit more crazy in relationships because you'll be seeking that love stronger from them. Although my parents are great in many ways, but there were some issues that happened, and I've never really had strong seeking in relationships, so I was quite lucky. But I do see other people that have that strong need for love, and it's really painful for them.
Yeah, my parents actually showed me a lot of love, but I did have a dysfunctional childhood, which we talked about a little bit. It was, drugs, alcohol type thing.
Yeah, and it's normally like within the first 6 weeks or something, that 7 weeks that are the most important of feeling safe and feeling loved. I don't know that much about it though, but it's normally like that, and none of us really remember like the amount that you were touched and loved and what your mother's and father's state of mind was at the time. But
I've always been this way. Like, even as a kid, I remember being girl crazy, but I just always had it in my head, well, I'm going to get married. Soulmates are real, and there you go. And I know it's an illusion.
Yeah. The whole of society supports it. And the thing that's really sad about the whole marriage and the whole bullshit that our generation was given over marriage is that was kind of a bit of a political thing, because it was also linked with women becoming independent of men. So being in love for women, it was about not being forced into marriage because of inheritance and money. So a love marriage meant that you weren't being traded for money. And so actually this whole being in love thing is just another bullshit of our society. And it was actually about women becoming separate from being something traded for inheritance and for a trade. So it was like a pro-woman thing, and then our society jumped on the back of that, and it's all bullshit too. Like this being this in love marriage. I do think that bodies come together and they have these in love feelings in order to have kids and to create kids, but it's not all this story that we've been given. Like our generation, I presume you're roughly the same age as me, maybe a bit younger, but our generation was brought up on these romantic movies of Prince Charming and the man's coming to save the day.
Yeah.
And so much of it was about coming out of patriarchy and patriarchy trying to carry on existing. So it's like a really bullshit story we've been fed. So it was very political as well, even though it seems like it's not.
And it's biological too, like you said, there's that strong
there is
biology.
to reproduce and to create a family. But this whole soulmate thing that goes along with it, I mean, that we've got to be together for life and all these things, we don't really know how we're programmed. And that they're the one, this whole story that we get fed with it, and they're the one, and they're going to complete you, and they're going to give you that. Yeah, for sure, we have this biology thing of reproduction. I don't know if I have it that strong, but most people do. I think I got missed these genes.
Well, you're lucky.
Yeah. I got given a bit too much the male and female hormones. Both. Yeah. But yeah, so there is that side, but the whole other story side is something that our society made up, and it's mostly a political thing about money and trading. I know that sounds really devastating, but if you were actually to read a lot of literature about it, you would really understand the transition from being a woman that was traded amongst families in order to carry on inheritance and family connections to the movement to an in-love relationship, which meant that you were stepping away from this trade. Like it's, yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I've seen this, like this time last year, I remember it was in April, and I was sitting by the ocean, and I was thinking what I used to always think was, how much nicer this would be if I had someone to share it with. And I realized, wait a second, why?
Yeah.
Isn't this moment enough the way it is? Isn't the ocean and the waves and the sand and the rocks, isn't this beautiful?
Yeah.
Can't I appreciate? And it broke, and I was like, oh, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need anybody.
Yeah, well, that's so. See, this is what waking up is this collapsing, this moment collapsing, where it's seen through all these illusions that we've been fed that something is better. The reason that you had that feeling wasn't actually because the thought was valid, but because a moment of seeking came up, that you were incomplete in some way, and so you imagined, oh, the woman would complete it. It's bullshit.
Yeah, and
completion
it was
is
so
your
clear for a
nature.
while.
Yeah, and then it comes back again.
And then it comes back
Yeah.
the second I get a taste of.
I was like,
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, that's funny. But it just seems to be that waking up is a process of those bubbles keep being bursted. And I'm not meant to sound like the pessimist. This is meant to be really optimistic. It's showing that love that you project onto the woman is your nature, is who you are. Like, you think it's out there, but there's never divide. You never experience something outside of yourself. But what happens is you divide yourself. I'm inside, she's outside, and then there is the love. But she's appearing inside your sense of being, inside your experience. She's not outside of it. But you, the separate energy, has divided the experience, me, her. But actually, in actuality, she appears in your experience and is you, is a reflection of you. And it's all mind-made, this story that she's outside of me.
So just keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, it sounds great.
I'm not going backwards. It feels like there's a backwards.
Have you just fallen in love? Have you just fallen in love? Is that why you feel like it's going backwards?
I'm not even falling in love. I'm not even in a relationship. It's just
a
few people who are showing interest in me who I am interested in, and this. I just quickly attach.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing it happen, and I want to cut it off before it gets too intense. That's why I'm.
Yeah. And just see that you have that love in you. Like, is that love that you're feeling when you imagine them outside of you? Is there anything ever outside of you, of who you truly are, outside of presence? See that love is in you. And I'm sure you've heard me tell this story many a times when I was younger and I sat there for the first time. I had this awakening experience when I sat there and I imagined having the boyfriend of my dreams, and I imagined it to the max. I imagined every detail of him, what we'd do and everything. And then he became so big and I became so big and our love became so big that he disappeared and I disappeared, and all there was love. And then after that experience, I knew that love never belonged on someone else. That love belonged to me. I experienced that love, and that person never existed, wasn't in front of me. I'd imagined them. It belonged to me. I experienced that love alone, so therefore how could it belong to someone? How could it be put on an object? And this is happening to you when you're in love with someone. You sit by yourself, you imagine them, and you feel these beautiful in love feelings. Therefore, that implies they don't own that love. It's just their image is completing something in you that feels like it's lost those qualities of them. It's your love. But this will be seen. It will become more and more clear.
Okay. I guess I need some reassurance because sometimes it just feels like
Yeah,
you can see everything so clearly and then go back.
yeah.
It confuses me.
Yeah, yeah, it's strong. Well, the seeking energy is really strong, and then you've got to remember everyone around you in society is doing that. So you're in an energy of seeking,
Yeah.
and everyone else validates that seeking.
I think I'll use this as a really good opportunity to really dig in and really just freaking see it, like I haven't before.
Yeah,
Even.
nice.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, always a pleasure. Nice to speak with you again, Zach. I do
Yeah, you
remember you
too.
from last time. I can't remember what we talked about, but I remember your energy. It
Yeah,
seems
sorry
like,
my nose is quite stuffy. I'm getting over a cold, so
yeah,
if it
but
sounds
it's.
weird, that's why.
I might be wrong, and I might be remembering you wrongly, but it feels like your energy is lighter. I don't know if
Than
that.
before?
Yeah, it feels like
Oh,
there's a more lighter energy there.
I'm sure it is. Like with the first time we had a video chat, that was explosive, and
Oh
I'm
yeah.
still processing it.
Oh,
So
well.
yeah,
I can't remember it, but I can just remember the sense
this
of
is
you
the
now.
power you hold.
Yeah. Nice. Ah, thanks for calling, Zach.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice talk. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, I just as like that's such a gift for me when I see someone and there's been a change. That's my gift. Yakitaki, taki. Even if the energy comes back, Zach. Okay.